I want to ask you a Gen X question.
Yeah.
You have said, my generation is made up of children.
Yes.
I've read that quote. I don't envy your generation at all. This is going to be the old man question. I don't envy it at all. I mean, I think we had it so much better than you guys did. There was so much more freedom. There was none of this nonsense going on. The rage, the oversensitivity, the victimization, the constant exhibitionism, the need to be liked, the need to shame. Where does all this anger and shit come from, do you think? And I'm going to ask you one of those questions. What happened to millennials? Why is this generation the way it is? Now, of course, you could write a book about this, but do you have any thoughts about why this flowered and why but meaning a lot of other people as well, have gotten caught up in these kind of spiteful movements? I mean, part of me reading that Daily Beast thing and hearing this entire story is, what happened? Why are people like this? It seems to me so emotionally immature, just to proudly, publicly denounce everyone and everything. It reminded me of what you said about the Mary Sue thing. I got a taste of it last week when I was interviewed by Variety about horror movies. It was for their Halloween issue. It was posted on the 31st. And I just gave my honest assessment of some movies. One of them was Barbarian. And the hate on Twitter was huge. Just, what the fuck does he know? Why the fuck do you have that old white man on? Ellis hasn't said anything interesting since 1992. All because I slightly criticized a couple of horror movies, and I didn't like horror movies that were doing something, explaining themselves too much. I like mysterious horror movies. The backstory, So I get it. But there's something virulent going on here.
It's hatred.
And how did it happen? Why do you think this happened to your generation?
Well, you said...
That's a very Bret Easton Ellis question, by the way.
I said my generation is made up of children.
Yeah.
So that's clearly a younger Max talking, because Max right now would say all generations are made up of children. All generations are inheriting a world they didn't build and being given the sort of Promethean light that was handed down to them from the previous generation. And the Promethean light that we were handed was the internet. Culturally, we were handed a way to represent ourselves outside of ourselves, which humans always want to do. We always want to live, or not always, not every single person, but generally you want an avatar of yourself. You want to be representational. You want to live as the ideal you, the idealized self. And the thing is that the ideal you only exists in an ideal world. You know, oftentimes the things you would change about yourself would also change the way you're treated, would also change your circumstances. And I think increasingly, starting with MySpace, there was a sense of total vulnerability. And hey, look at me. Let me see me. I'm playing a role. Look at this picture. You know, people used to take those pictures at the high angle and look up into the camera. And, you know, I did it too. And it was because you wanted to look good, because suddenly pictures of you weren't just mementos. They weren't things in a photo album. They were up for public display. Your opinions are up for public display. Your ideas are up for public display. What I found out is my soul and my safety are also up for public display. And once you have enough momentum, once there's something that really evokes an emotion, people react to it the way they react to a show. You know, I was almost killed. Someone came to my house with a weapon to hurt me. Did they get me? No. Did they get arrested? Yes. No one cared. My sex life from 2011 was more newsworthy than almost encountering my stalker, who was armed with a wooden spike. And my girlfriend at the time was with me, and it blew right past us because we were separated by a gate, and my neighbor had warned us. Otherwise, we would have gone down there, and that would have happened. That's a real thing that happened to me. It's not part of my online narrative because it didn't happen to the pretend Max Landis, because I didn't talk about it. The ability to freeze someone's characteristics, to make humans not dimensional, to experience people in a one-dimensional way, I think makes people feel safe, and I think it makes people feel powerful. From my position, I know that often I've been referred to online, even by people who once knew me, as subhuman. I don't see any fucking subhumans around me when I go out in the street, or I don't know if I've met a subhuman in my life. I don't think there is a subhuman. They're all humans. Subhuman is what the fucking Hitler called the Jews to depersonalize them, the Untermensch. And that, the depersonalization, the dehumanization, is so comforting if you're insecure or if you're hurt or if you're angry. You talk about Me Too. I think during Me Too, some of the things that happened probably really needed to happen in one way or another. The issue is when you do a public shaming, the public aspect of it, from the second a public shaming starts, it's out of control. From the second it's public, from the second that Daily Beast article was up, who the fuck knows if I get murdered? Because justice is now in the hands of everyone. And justice always frustrated humans because it's long and it's hard and has to be impartial. You know what humans like? Bang, 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 bang. The Punisher. They like Dexter. They like justice as revenge because they think revenge fills you up. But all a desire for revenge does is permanently link you to someone. That's why everyone in my shaming, whenever I post anything, people, whenever I take any kind of platform, they have to re-engage with me in this zombified, one-dimensional level of just hating me publicly and kicking me again, even though they don't know me. And I've been dealing with that since the beginning. So if you talk about cancel culture and what happened to my generation, what happened to my generation was we were told the world is simple and your voice matters. And in reality, your voice matters to the people who know you and to the people who you affect and have power over, right? You can get a bigger voice on Twitter, make a megaphone, become a platform that forwards good things, right? I can't say what the general wound of my generation is. I know that it came from the internet, but beyond that, and specifically social media and the instantaneous availability and expression of emotions, who's getting in a text fight in 1983? You ever been in a real blowout text fight, Bret?
Not really, no.
Yeah, because you're from the right generation. I've been in some text fights that could be published as novels.
So is Todd.